Hello everyone, my name is Jasmine McCoy and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, thank you for clicking in to drop by, but if you are a returner, it is always nice to have you back. This video, we are celebrating a very important day. It is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated's Founders Day. So, if you are like me, a pretty girl wearing 20 pearls, happy Founders Day. It is finally January 15th or J15, and we have a lot to celebrate. And in this video, we are going to be talking more about my journey in AKA. That's what this entire playlist is about, so if you haven't watched the other videos, I'll link them in the description, but this video is about the most important part of my journey, and that was the 2 years that I served as the International Second Vice President of AKA. Now, before we get too far into this video, if you are not yet subscribed, that's okay. You're going to take your finger, go to the bottom right-hand corner. There is a big red button that says subscribe. Click that, turn on notifications, and you'll be notified of the rest of the videos that I put on my channel. The tenure of the position is 2 years, so we'll talk about year 1 versus year 2. Year 1, I came in the middle of a pandemic, and that was something that heavily marked what it is that I was able to do. And admittedly, it was not much. So I started out my tenure as the International Second Vice President doing pretty much everything from home. But in some ways, it was kind of nice. Because everything was still virtual, I was able to be in many places at once. And it's something that I feel definitely gave me the ability to reach and connect with more of the members. So I could be in far western region at 6 o'clock, and then an hour later, I could be in North Atlantic region. There's no way that would have been able to be possible if we had to do everything in person, but all I had to do was click a Zoom link. So I made it my goal to say yes to everything, and if I couldn't flat out say yes, I would work with them saying, I've already got X event from 6 to 7. You can I can either make room before or after that, which is better for you. And I do want to give a special shout out to the Great Lakes region. They were the ones to offer me my first event as the International Second Vice President. It was a sister circle where they had myself and the 3 previous International Second Vice Presidents come and talk about our sisterhood and what it means for us to move forward together as a sorority. Now we're going to move on to 2021, where I was going to all of the regional conferences. They were virtual, so of course it was easy for me to appear at all of the regional conferences. And many of them would give me swag boxes. I also had virtual protocol escorts. There were different regional conference virtual platforms for me to learn every week. And I did create an entire playlist of those videos from those 10 regional conferences. I'll link that down in the description. But even though I knew it was not the same as being literally at the regional conferences, I was so excited. There was nothing that you could say to dull my joy in being able to be in all 10 regions celebrating our sorority with them. And when I say that, I truly mean that. So, far western region, literally 3 hours behind us, but they have their undergraduate activity starting at 10 p.m. So when does that start for me? That started at 1 a.m. Who stayed up until 1 a.m. to make sure that she was there for the far western region's undergraduate activities? Me. Who stayed up an extra 2 hours until 3 o'clock my time to be able to spend time with them so they knew I'm not going to say, it's far western region, they're so far away, I don't feel like staying up. No, I stayed up. I made sure that they knew that I was there and that I wanted to spend time with them just as much as I would have wanted to spend time with my own region, North Atlantic region. And it was nice. It was nice being able to take part in all of those different experiences. I talk about each one more explicitly in the playlist if you want to see maybe your own region represented. And I wasn't just going to these regional conferences and not doing anything. I still had a lot of responsibilities, even though it was virtual. So many times I would be asked to deliver the undergraduate brunch speech, and that was something that I would have to pre-record for each of the different regions. Every region had their own theme, so I would have to tailor my speech to work with their theme. And there were times where I would deliver the whole 15-minute speech. Computer doesn't record it, it doesn't compress right or something. The recording ends up being lost. There were some hard days of having to sit and film quite a bit, but I made sure that all of my filming was done. That way, there wasn't any kind of technological mess ups on the day of. And then I was also in charge of, by being the International Second Vice President, I was the committee chairman of the Undergraduate Activities Committee. And the Undergraduate Activities Committee at every regional conference would do a presentation. So for us, our presentation was about REACH, which was the undergraduate theme at the time. REACH stood for Resilience, Excellence, Ambition, Connection, and Heart. And we talked about how those 5 tenets would be what would lead us as undergraduates into an excellent 2 years. So, and excellent being the theme of Dr. Glenda Glover, our international president and CEO at the time. So that's what we were doing for all of our workshops, and this was a 1.5-hour workshop. It was interactive. We had question and answer sessions, so it was very influential, and it was something that many of the members would tell us they enjoyed, that helped elevate their undergraduate experience and give them a little bit of purpose in understanding what we as undergraduates are capable of. Because even though we are young, we have ideas, we have tenacity, we have perseverance, and we are capable of doing great things just as we think the graduates are doing. Now we're going to talk about the second year of my tenure as the International Second Vice President, and this is the one where I was actually able to be in person. Finally, I am no longer having to just click a Zoom link. I'm actually going to have to get dressed all the way. I can't just do from my top half anymore. I have to get all dressed up. I am able to put the backdrop away and I am able to see them in person. So what we did is, first we had a 10-day meeting in Chicago. I made an entire playlist for it, again, linked in the description, but that was the first time that I was seeing all of these women in person. The 2 people that were the most important to me were who I like to call the girls, and that is Jasmine Williams and Elise Guerrier. Elise Guerrier is the current International Second Vice President, but at the time she was an undergraduate member at large, serving with me and Jasmine Williams. And I love them so much. We were attached at the hip. We moved as a unit, the 3 of us, because we are the only 3 undergraduate members on the board of directors. We were very tight-knit, and I truly valued my relationship with them the entire 2 years. I was also able to experience another very important first, which was going to see Howard University and to see the original AKA tree. For the International Founders Day celebration, I was able to take part in that. I had a speaking part that was live streamed to the 300,000 members of the sorority, and then we went and we had a wreath laying ceremony at the tree, which I was able to see for the first time of my life. And being able to see that tree, how old that tree is like, wow, that is almost like a physical representation of how strong Alpha Kappa Alpha is, how long standing it is, and how it is able to weather any storm and still stand tall at the end of the day. Now, it is very important for me to pause here and say, though, that my involvement in the sorority from September of 2021 through January 20th of 2022, nosedive. And that was because I was studying for my MCAT, my test that I have to take to get into medical school. So for those roughly 4 months of my tenure as the International Second Vice President, I made it very clear, I communicated with the board of directors, hey, I am going to be applying to medical school. To apply to medical school, I need to take this exam. to take this exam, I need to study. People study 6 months for this exam. People retake this exam. Like, this is very big. It's an 8-hour exam that can make or break, in some cases, my application. And they're like, it's okay, we get it. You do what you need to do, and we'll just give you update notes. And if you're wondering why I took my MCAT on January 20th, it is because I was thinking. It is because I wanted to go into the 2022 regional conference season relaxed. I wanted to have the MCAT behind me, so I was able to enjoy all 10 of those regional conferences without having to study. Thinking about all of the regional conferences, I am so thankful that I decided to put all of those videos in my YouTube channel, because it was a lot of good experiences that I had, a lot of good memories. I went to 10 regional conferences, each of them being 3 to 5 days that I was able to go to. So that is well over 40 videos that I have created in that 2022 regional conference playlist linked below, that I've been able to just put together and keep essentially kind of like a historical archive vault, so that in 100 years, when people want to know, what were regional conferences like back in 2022? They'll be able to go and see a play-by-play, day-by-day of what I was doing at the regional conferences. With the end of the 2022 regional conference season, it was time to move on to the next big thing, which was going to be Boulé. And Boulé was really fun, but it was a lot of work beforehand. I never would have imagined the amount of planning meetings that I would have in my schedule for Boulé. It was hours upon hours upon hours of sitting, talking, send something, they say no, you brainstorm, you come up with some new ideas, you send those ideas, lots of back and forth. But in the end, I think that we were able to put forward a great undergraduate activity that people really enjoyed. We had a silent noise party. So you wear these big headphones, and depending on what station you're on, it will play a certain genre of music. So we had that. I feel like the undergraduates really loved it. So when it came time for the 2022 Boulé, I wanted to make sure that I was capturing every moment. I always had my phone up, I always had my little ring light with me. There would be times where I would go off so I could film a little, like, oh, now we're going to do X, blah, 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 blah. That way I could make sure I was getting those videos out, because one day those will be history. In fact, they are history right now. What was happening at Boulé for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated in 2022 as it was coming out of the pandemic? Like, that's a big question that my YouTube channel was able to answer. And it was bittersweet, I'm not gonna lie, but it was something that was the culmination of 2 hard years of work. And being able to be there and see everyone having fun, being able to have people come up also. When we became in person, the amount of people who would go, Soror Jasmine, can we have a picture? Soror Jasmine. I could not walk anywhere without being asked for a picture in person, because now you don't have to do screenshots. People want to see, people want to touch, and I want to do the same thing. So I always said yes to any time I was being asked for a photo. I have so many photos in my camera where I am taking pictures with members of the sorority, undergraduate and graduate, North Atlantic region, far Western region, international region, big chapter, small chapter, it doesn't matter who. I said yes because I wanted them to know, like I've said before, that I am here. So we get to Boulé, I'm making sure I'm at everything. I am not missing a single thing. Was I tired at the end? Yes, very tired. I was so tired at the end. Every single day, the days would pretty much start at like 6 a.m. for me, and then end around 1:30 a.m., considering like the parties go until midnight, considering that because I am up on the dais in the morning, I can't just roll up at 8 o'clock like everyone else. I need to be up and at 'em for the green room. All these experiences are in that playlist. You should definitely go and watch it to see what I was experiencing during these days. But it was a time that I definitely look back at fondly. And then at the final State of the Undergraduates that I gave, Elise gave a little speech about her time as an undergraduate member at large. Jasmine Williams gave her speech about being an undergraduate member at large, and I gave my speech about being the international second vice president. And I got all the way through my little speech, and then I turned around and I see Elise crying and Jasmine crying, and then I start crying, and then we're just crying up on the Jumbotron because we're so happy but also a little sad to be ending this experience with each other, but it was beautiful. And then, because obviously it's Boulé, voting happens, people have been campaigning all throughout the regional conferences of 2022, so people get voted in, and it was literally the official end. The official end. They announce who wins, and at that time, it's time for me to step down. It's time for someone else to have their induction and take their spot as the international second vice president. So, was I sad? Yes. I was sad to be leaving my position. I was sad to be leaving the people that I had met along that transition. Obviously, they're still in my life, but they're not in my life to the same extent, because when you're working on the board of directors, that takes up so much time. That takes up so much time, and you bond so much with the people of that board that it's something that really can't be replicated. And now, obviously, I'm in medical school, so we'll get into it in the next video where I talk about life after international second vice president. But the final night of Boulé 2022 was definitely a bittersweet one. And I'm just happy that I was able to do the position justice. I was happy that I was able to make sure that I held fast to those promises that I made at the beginning of staying open and available to the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And I really hope that they consider the same thing, that they consider I did the same thing. So that is really all I have for this video. If you are still here, thank you very much for watching. I love you very much. And make sure that you like, make sure that you comment. Maybe, why don't you all tell me what was your favorite moment from Boulé 2022? And make sure that you subscribe and make sure you turn on notifications. The next video will be me talking about what life was like, is like, after serving as the international second vice president. And if you are a lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, happy Founders Day. Bye.